The massive crystal chamber stretched high above their heads, its walls glowing with soft blue light. Ambassador Dae-ho Kim walked slowly across the polished floor, his black diplomatic uniform a sharp contrast against the alien architecture. Behind him, Admiral Bo-Ram Lee kept her hand near her sidearm, while Chief Diplomat Woo-Jin Park carried a thick folder of documents they would never get to present. The Galactic Council had summoned them here. Not invited. Summoned. 23 different alien species filled the curved seats that rose in tiers around the central floor. Some looked almost human, with minor differences in skin color or eye shape. Others were so strange that Dae-ho still felt uncomfortable looking at them directly. The energy beings from the synthesis floated in contained fields, their forms shifting like living lightning. The insect-like members of the collective clicked and buzzed in perfect unison. At the highest seat sat Speaker Veltara of the Hegemony. She was tall and pale, with silver hair that moved like water and eyes that glowed with inner light. Beautiful, if you ignored the cold contempt in her expression every time she looked at humans. "The human delegation will stand in the center," Veltara announced, her voice carrying easily through the vast chamber without any visible amplification. Dae-ho led his team to the designated spot. A circle of white light appeared on the floor, around them. He had attended many council sessions before, but never as the accused party. The light felt like a cage. "Humans of Earth," Veltara began, rising from her seat. "You have been brought before this council to answer for your crimes against galactic peace." Dae-ho remained silent. He had learned long ago that aliens often said more than they intended when no one interrupted them. "For the past 50 years, your species has spread across the galaxy like a plague," continued Veltara. "You take worlds that belong to others. You build weapons when we have told you to remain peaceful. You refuse to follow the laws that have kept peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. A rumble of agreement came from the assembled aliens. Dae-ho noticed that not all of them seemed convinced, but the majority clearly supported whatever was coming next. "You have colonized 12 star systems in the Outer Rim," Veltara said, waving her hand to project a holographic map above their heads. Red dots marked human settlements. "These systems were claimed by other species long before your primitive rockets left your homeworld." Admiral Bo-Ram Lee shifted slightly behind Dae-ho. He could feel her anger, but she remained professional. They had discussed this moment many times during the long journey to the council station. "Furthermore," Veltara continued, "your military forces have grown beyond what any peaceful species requires. Our intelligence reports indicate you have built over 3,000 warships. This is a clear violation of the expansion accords." "The humans also refuse to share their technology," added Council Member Zethron of the Dominion, his reptilian features twisted in what might have been discussed. "They develop new weapons and defenses but will not submit them for council approval. This secretive behavior threatens galactic stability." More voices joined in from around the chamber. Each alien species added their own complaints about humanity. Some were trivial, like humans eating meat when more civilized species had evolved, beyond such barbarism. Others were more serious, accusing humans of spying on alien worlds and stealing technology. Dae-ho listened to it all without expression. 50 years of diplomatic training had taught him patience. Beside him, Woo-Jin Park took notes on a small tablet, though they both knew it was pointless. Finally, Veltara raised her hand for silence. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding the human problem." The word problem hung in the air like a threat. "First, humans will immediately withdraw from all 12 contested star systems. You will abandon your colonies and return the worlds to their rightful owners within 6 months." Dae-ho felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his face neutral. "Second, all human military forces will be placed under Galactic Council oversight. You will submit detailed reports on every ship, every weapon, every soldier. Council inspectors will have unlimited access to all human military facilities. The demands kept coming. Humans would pay massive reparations to the species whose space they had supposedly violated. Human exploration would be limited to pre-approved sectors. Human technology would be shared freely with the Council, but humans would have no say in how it was used. Finally, Veltara said, her glowing eyes fixed on Deho, humans will accept permanent Council governors on Earth and all human worlds. These governors will ensure that your species never again threatens galactic peace through your primitive, aggressive instincts. The chamber fell silent. Every alien eye was focused on the three humans standing in the circle of light. Deho looked up at the map still floating above their heads, 12 red dots representing 12 worlds where over 50 million humans had built homes, raised families, and created new lives among the stars, worlds that had been empty when human survey ships first found them, worlds that humans had spent decades terraforming and developing. Well? Veltara demanded. What is your response to the Council's generous offer of peace? Deho was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm and steady. We came here in good faith. We hoped for dialogue, for mutual understanding between our species and yours. We brought proposals for trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and scientific cooperation. He gestured to the folder in Woojin's hands. Instead, you offer us subjugation dressed as peace. You demand that we abandon our people, surrender our sovereignty, and accept alien rule over human worlds. Your people trespassed on claimed territory, Veltara snapped. Your species is too violent and unpredictable to be trusted with freedom. The systems we colonized were empty, Bo-Ram Lee said, speaking for the first time. We found no signs of intelligent life, no marker beacons, no territorial claims filed with the Council registry. Silence, Veltara commanded. You were not given permission to speak primitive. The word primitive seemed to echo in the vast chamber. Deho saw something flicker across Admiral Lee's face, and he knew that this moment would be remembered. Deho closed the folder he had been holding and handed it to Woojin Park. Then he straightened his uniform jacket and looked directly at Veltara. I have served as Earth's ambassador to this Council for 15 years. In all that time, I have tried to build bridges between humanity and the other species of this galaxy. I believed that understanding and cooperation were possible. He paused, looking around the chamber at the assembled aliens. I was wrong. The three humans turned and began walking toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed loudly in the suddenly quiet chamber. Where are you going? Veltara called after them. We have not dismissed you. You will return to your positions and accept the Council's terms. Deho stopped at the great doors that led out of the chamber. Without turning around, he spoke loudly. Enough for everyone to hear. We dismiss ourselves. Good day. The doors slid open, and the human delegation walked out into the corridor beyond. Behind them, the chamber erupted in confused voices as aliens tried to process what had just happened. No species had ever simply walked out of a galactic council session. No one had ever refused a direct order from the speaker. The implications were staggering. As their shuttle departed the council station, Deho activated his personal communicator and sent a single coded message to Earth. Protocol 7 authorized. Negotiations have failed. In the council chamber, Veltara stood at her podium, her perfect features twisted with rage and disbelief. Around her, the other council members argued loudly about what should be done next. None of them understood that. They had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. 3 days had passed since the humans walked out of the council chamber. Speaker Veltara sat in her private office, reviewing reports from across the galaxy. She expected to see messages from human worlds begging for mercy, or at least requests, for new negotiations. Instead, She found something that made her blood run cold. The humans had vanished. Not literally, of course. Human colonies still existed on their worlds. Human ships still moved through space. But every form of communication with the Galactic Council had stopped. Trade agreements were canceled. Diplomatic messages went unanswered. Human ambassadors on alien worlds had packed their belongings and left without explanation. A soft chime announced a visitor. Council Intelligence Chief Zara entered the office, her blue skin darker than usual with worry. She was one of the few aliens who had spent significant time studying human behavior, and Veltara valued her insights. "What is the current status?" Veltara asked. Zara activated a holographic display that filled the space between them. It showed the galaxy with human territories marked in red. Every human facility has gone dark. They are still there, but they have cut all communication with non-human entities. Our spy networks on human worlds report something called Protocol 7 has been activated. What is Protocol 7? Unknown. Our intelligence agents were expelled from human space 12 hours ago. All of them. Even the ones we thought were perfectly hidden. Veltara felt a chill. The Council's intelligence network was supposed to be invisible. How had the humans found agents that had been in place for decades? "What about trade?" she asked. Completely stopped. Human merchants have abandoned their cargo and returned home. The economic impact is already being felt on 17 worlds that depend on human agricultural products. The holographic display shifted to show trade routes. Red lines marked where human ships had operated. Veltara was surprised to see how many there were. She had not realized how deeply humans had integrated themselves into galactic commerce. And their military? Zara's expression grew even more troubled. This is where things become concerning. Admiral Tae-Young Cho was monitoring the peace talks from the outer system with a small fleet. The moment Ambassador Daeho's shuttle left the station, every human ship in Council space began moving. Moving where? That is the problem. They did not retreat to human space as we expected. They repositioned. Our analysts believe they have taken defensive positions around key systems, but we cannot confirm this because we cannot find them anymore. Veltara stood up sharply. What do you mean you cannot find them? Zara manipulated the display, zooming in on several star systems. Human ships that were clearly visible on our sensors 3 days ago have simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not departed. Disappeared. Our best sensors show empty space where human fleets should be. They must have some form of stealth technology. More advanced than anything in our databases, the synthesis energy beings pride themselves on seeing across multiple dimensions. Even they report that human ships have become invisible to their perception. The implications began to sink in. If humans had stealth technology that could fool even the synthesis, what else had they been hiding? Have there been any attempts at communication? Veltara asked. Only one. Dr. Hyun-A Song was working at the Kepler Research Station, studying rare minerals with a mixed team of scientists from 7 species. She had been there for 5 years and was well liked by her colleagues. Veltara remembered the name. The human scientist had made several important discoveries and had always seemed friendly and cooperative. She sent a message to her research team yesterday and then vanished from the station. Her final words were, "I am sorry for what is coming." The silence in the office stretched for several minutes. Veltara tried to process what she was hearing. The humans were not begging for mercy. They were not seeking new negotiations. They were preparing for something. "What is the assessment of our military advisors?" she finally asked. "They believe the humans are bluffing. They think this is an emotional response that will collapse within days. General Kethvar of the Dominion forces says humans are too primitive and emotional to maintain this kind of organized silence for long." Veltara nodded slowly. That made sense. Humans were known for their emotional outbursts and lack of long-term planning. This was probably just a dramatic gesture that would end. when they realized the Council was serious about its demands. "Maintain surveillance on human space," she ordered. "As soon as they show any sign of weakness, we will press our advantage. Double the patrols near human territory to show them we are not intimidated by their tantrum." Zara saluted and turned to leave, but paused at the door. "Speaker, there is one more thing. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual energy signatures from several systems that appeared empty when we last surveyed them." "What kind of energy signatures?" "Industrial, large-scale manufacturing and construction. The signatures suggest massive operations, but our records show those systems contain nothing but asteroids and gas giants. Send investigation fleets to those locations immediately." After Zara left, Veltara stood alone in her office, looking out at the stars. She told herself that the humans were simply having an emotional breakdown. They would realize soon enough that they could not survive without the protection and guidance of the Galactic Council. On Earth, President Ji-hoon Yoon stood in the secure briefing room deep beneath the Capitol building. Around the table sat the leaders of Earth's military, intelligence services, and colonial governments. The mood was grim but determined. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Yoon said, 50 years ago, we made first contact with alien civilizations. We hope to join a community of peaceful species working together for the betterment of all." He paused, looking at each person around the table. 3 days ago, we learned the truth. They do not want us as equals. They want us as subjects. They demand that we abandon our people, surrender our freedom, and accept their rule over human worlds. General Minho Park, the elderly commander of Earth's defense forces, spoke up. "The vote was unanimous, Mr. President. Every colonial government, every military command, every major corporation has agreed. We will not submit to alien rule." "Then we proceed with the plan we hoped we would never need," President Yoon said. "For 50 years we have been preparing for this moment. Not because we wanted war, but because we understood that peace is only possible between equals." He activated a holographic display that showed human space and the surrounding regions. "Our industrial facilities that the aliens dismissed as simple mining operations will reveal their true purpose. Our research stations that they ignored will demonstrate technologies they never suspected we possessed." The display zoomed in on systems that appeared empty on most galactic charts. Hidden bases and shipyards came into view, along with defensive installations that had been disguised as natural phenomena. "We offered them friendship," President Yoon continued. "We shared what we could while keeping our deepest secrets safe. We tried diplomacy and cooperation. They responded with demands for our surrender." He turned to face the assembled leaders. "Now they will learn why Earth has never been conquered. They will discover what happens when you threaten the freedom of humanity. We did not want this fight, but they have given us no choice." The room fell silent as the weight of the moment settled on everyone present. Humanity was about to reveal capabilities that would shock the galaxy and change the balance of power forever. Outside, in the darkness of space, human ships moved unseen toward their positions. The galaxy was about to learn that the primitive species they had dismissed was actually the most dangerous military power they had ever encountered. Captain Vextar of the Dominion Navy had served for 40 years without ever feeling true fear. His ship, the Eternal Glory, was one of the most powerful vessels in the galactic fleet. Its crew of 300 had fought pirates, rebels, and various threats across known space. Nothing had ever challenged them. Today was different. 2 weeks had passed since the humans went silent. The Galactic Council had ordered patrol fleets to investigate human systems that had gone dark. Vextar's squadron of 12 ships had been assigned to check a system called Kepler 442. According to their records, it contained only a small human mining operation and a research station. "Captain," his sensor officer called out, "we are approaching the edge of the system. I am detecting. This cannot be correct." Vextar moved to look at the sensor display. What he saw made no sense. The system was not dead. It was not abandoned. It was the most heavily fortified location he had ever encountered. Massive orbital platforms surrounded every planet and moon. The asteroid belt had been completely transformed into what looked like the largest shipyard in the galaxy. Energy. Readings suggested defensive weapons that were far beyond anything in the Council's technology databases. "How many platforms?" Vextar asked quietly. "Over 2,000, sir. And they are all active. Power signatures indicate they are armed and operational." Before Vextar could respond, his communication officer spoke up. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the system. It is coming from a human vessel." The main screen flickered to life, showing a human woman in a dark blue uniform. She had short black hair and calm, serious eyes. The name on her uniform read Captain Huang. "Dominion vessels," she said in perfect galactic standard language. "You are Captain Sunmi Huang of the human ship Incheon's Pride. You have entered human space without permission. State your business." Vextar stepped forward. "I am Captain Vextar of the Galactic Council Fleet. We are here to investigate reports of illegal military construction. You will submit to inspection immediately." Captain Huang smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I am afraid that will not be possible. You are no longer dealing with the humans who attended your council meetings and asked politely for permission to exist. You wanted to know about human military capabilities. Observe." The space around Vextar's fleet suddenly filled with ships. Not the small vessels they had grown accustomed to seeing humans operate, but massive warships that dwarfed even the mighty Dominion battlecruisers. They had been invisible until this moment, hidden by some form of technology the Council had never encountered. "Impossible," Vexitar whispered. "How many ships?" His sensor officer's voice was shaking. "Contacts appearing all around us, sir. Current count is over 3,000 vessels, and they are still appearing. The human fleet that materialized around the system's star was unlike anything in galactic records. The smallest ships were larger than Dominion destroyers. The largest were mobile fortresses that could carry entire armies. Their sleek, angular designs suggested advanced engineering and manufacturing capabilities." Captain Huang continued speaking, and Vexitar realized her transmission was being broadcast to every Council world simultaneously. "We have been studying you for 50 years, learning your weaknesses, understanding your strategies, preparing for the day you would reveal your true intentions toward humanity. That day has come." On the bridge of the eternal glory, the crew stared at their displays in disbelief. The energy signatures coming from the human ships suggested weapons and defensive systems that should have been impossible according to current scientific understanding. "Your intelligence networks failed because we allowed them to fail," Captain Huang said. "Every spy you sent to human worlds was identified within days of their arrival. We fed them false information while learning everything about your capabilities, your tactics, and your plans." Vextar felt sick. The Council had based all their strategies on intelligence that was apparently worthless. Your military advisors told you that humans were primitive and emotional. They said we could not maintain discipline or organize complex operations. They were wrong about everything. The camera angle shifted, showing the bridge of the human ship. It was filled with advanced displays and control systems that looked decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. The crew moved with perfect coordination, their faces calm and professional. You demanded that we submit to your oversight because you believed we were a threat to galactic peace. You were correct about one thing. We are a threat, but not to peace. We are a threat to anyone who tries to enslave us. Vextar opened a communication channel to his fleet. "All ships, prepare for immediate departure. Do not make any aggressive moves." But Captain Huang was not finished. "For 50 years, you watched us build what you thought were simple mining operations and research stations. You ignored us because you believed we were too primitive to be worth your attention. Allow me to correct that misunderstanding." The display shifted to show the transformed asteroid belt. What had appeared to be a mining operation was revealed as the most advanced shipyard complex in known space. Thousands of ships were under construction, including designs that suggested capabilities far beyond current galactic technology. Every system you dismissed as unimportant has been converted into a military production facility. We built them in plain sight while your intelligence services focused on what they thought were our important worlds. On the Council worlds, panic was beginning to set in. Military commanders who had dismissed humans as primitive were suddenly faced with evidence of a space force that could threaten the combined fleets of all Council species. "You wanted to know why we refused to share our technology," Captain Huang continued. "This is why. We developed weapons and defenses that could protect us from species who would demand our submission. We hoped we would never need them." The human ships began moving into new formations, demonstrating coordination and tactical precision that impressed even experienced military officers. Their movements suggested training and discipline that rivaled the best units in the galactic fleet. "You offered us a choice between surrender and destruction. We choose a third option. We choose to show you what destruction really means." Vexitar's communication officer spoke urgently. "Captain, I am receiving emergency transmissions from 17 different Council worlds. They are all reporting the same thing. Human fleets have appeared in orbit around major military bases and government centers." The scope of the human operation became clear. While the Council had focused on the dramatic confrontation at the peace talks, humans had been positioning forces throughout Council space. Not just a few ships, but entire fleets capable of threatening every major world simultaneously. "This is impossible," Vextar said. "How did they move so many ships without being detected?" Captain Huang seemed to hear him. "You want to understand our capabilities? Let me demonstrate something your scientists will tell you is impossible." The massive human dreadnought Inchen's Pride suddenly vanished from all sensors. Not cloaked or hidden, but completely gone from normal space. Then it reappeared on the opposite side of the system, having somehow moved faster than light without using any known form of propulsion. "We call it quantum displacement," Captain Huang explained. "Your physics say it cannot work. Your physics are incomplete." The transmission ended, leaving Vextar's fleet alone in space, surrounded by thousands of human warships. The humans made no aggressive moves, but their message was clear. The galaxy had underestimated humanity completely, as his ships retreated. From the system, Vextar sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council. "Military response is not recommended. Repeat, military response is not recommended. We are not dealing with a primitive species. We are dealing with the most advanced military force in galactic history." But he feared the message would arrive too late to prevent the disaster that was coming. War Marshal Kethvar of the Dominion stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Universal Justice, watching the largest fleet in galactic history prepare for battle. 10,000 ships from every member species of the Galactic Council floated in, formation around him. Dominion battle cruisers, hegemony carriers, collective swarm fighters, and energy constructs from the synthesis filled the darkness of space. They had come to the human home system of Sol to end this rebellion once and for all. "This is madness," muttered Admiral Zethka of the hegemony forces. "One species cannot stand against the combined might of 23 civilizations." Kethvar nodded agreement. The human stunt at Kepler 442 had been impressive, but it was clearly a desperate bluff. No single species could have built the forces that Captain Huang had displayed. The humans must have used tricks, holograms, or stolen technology to create an illusion of strength. "Status report," Kethvar ordered. "All fleets are in position," his tactical officer reported. "We have enough firepower to sterilize every planet in this system. The humans cannot possibly resist." Through the viewport, Kethvar could see the blue and green world that had spawned humanity. Earth looked peaceful and vulnerable, exactly like any other inhabited planet. It was hard to believe that this small world had caused so much trouble. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from a human vessel at the edge of the system." On screen, the display showed a middle-aged human man in a dark uniform. His hair was gray at the temples, and his face showed the lines of someone who had spent years making difficult decisions. The name on his uniform read, Admiral Nam. "Council Fleet," the human said calmly. "I am Admiral Kyung-Soo Nam of the Human Home Defense Force. You have entered Sol system with an invasion fleet. Turn back now. This is your only warning." Kethvar laughed. "Admiral Nam, I am War Marshal Kethvar, commanding over 10,000 ships from every corner of the galaxy. You are outnumbered by more than 20 to 1. Surrender immediately, and your species will be shown mercy." Admiral Nam's expression did not change. "War Marshal, you have made a grave error in judgment. We did not want this fight, but you have forced it upon us. You will regret coming here." "You humans are all the same," Kethvar replied. "Emotional and irrational to the end. You cannot win this battle. Mathematics alone makes victory impossible." "Mathematics," Admiral Nam said quietly, "assumes you understand all the variables in the equation. You do not." The transmission ended. Kethvar turned to his fleet commanders. "Begin the attack. Target their military installations first. Then, proceed to planetary bombardment if they refuse to surrender." The Council fleet began moving toward Earth, their weapons charging and shields raised. It was the largest military operation in galactic history, designed to crush human resistance completely. They had traveled less than halfway to Earth when Admiral Nam's fleet appeared. The human ships materialized out of empty space as if they had been waiting just beyond perception. But these were not the relatively small vessels the Council had expected to find defending the human homeworld. These were massive warships that dwarfed even the Council's largest battleships. "How many ships?" Kethvar demanded. "Contact count is—" "Sir, this cannot be accurate. I am reading over 15,000 human vessels." Kethvar stared at his sensor displays. The humans had not just matched the Council fleet. They had brought more ships than the Council had even known existed. Ships that, according to every intelligence report, should not exist. "All ships, maintain formation, and continue the attack," Kethvar ordered. "They may have numbers, but we have superior technology and experience." The human fleet arranged itself in perfect defensive formations around Earth and its moon. Their ships moved with a precision that suggested advanced tactical computers and extensive training. More troubling, their energy signatures indicated weapons and shielding technology that surpassed anything in the Council databases. Admiral Nam appeared on screen again, but this time his transmission was being broadcast from a ship that was twice the size of Kethvar's flagship. "War Marshal," Nam said, "I will give you one final opportunity to withdraw. Leave this system now, and no harm will come to your ships or crews." "Never!" Kethvar shouted. "All ships, open fire!" The Council fleet unleashed everything they had. Energy beams, missile swarms, plasma torrents, and exotic weapons that could destroy entire cities struck the human defensive line. The combined firepower of 10,000 ships should have vaporized any opposition. Instead, the human ships absorbed the attack without taking significant damage. Their shields held against weapons that should have torn through any known defensive system. Some ships took hits, but none were destroyed. Then the humans returned fire. What happened next would be studied by military historians for centuries. The human weapons cut through Council shields like they were made of paper. Ships that had never been seriously damaged in decades of service exploded in seconds. The advanced energy beings of the synthesis, who had considered themselves nearly invulnerable, watched in horror as human weapons tore apart their protective fields. "Impossible!" Kethvar screamed. "Our shields are rated against any known weapon type." "Sir," his tactical officer said, voice shaking. "The human weapons appear to operate on completely different principles. Our defensive systems cannot adapt to them." Across the battlefield, Council ships were being systematically destroyed. The humans were not firing randomly or in panic. Each shot was precisely aimed, targeting critical systems with surgical accuracy. They were not just winning the battle, they were demonstrating complete superiority in every aspect of warfare. Dr. Minho Jiang, broadcasting from a human research vessel safely behind the battle lines, provided commentary that reached every world. In Council space, you wanted to understand human military doctrine. We have one simple rule. If you threaten our home, we will destroy you completely. Today you learn why Earth has never fallen to any invader. The battle lasted exactly 47 minutes. By the end of it, the mighty Council fleet had been reduced to scattered survivors fleeing in panic. Over 7,000 ships had been destroyed or disabled. The humans had lost fewer than 100 vessels. Admiral Nam appeared on screen one final time as the surviving Council ships retreated. "War Marshal Kethvar, if you are still alive, take this message back to your Council. We offered you peace. You chose war. You have seen the result. Do not make the mistake of thinking this was our full strength." Kethvar, his flagship badly damaged and half his crew dead, could only stare at the human admiral in disbelief. "We could pursue your fleeing ships and destroy them all," Nam continued. "We choose not to, because that is not who we are. But understand this. If you ever threaten Earth again, if you ever harm a human colony, if you ever again demand our submission, we will not show such restraint." The human fleet remained in perfect formation around Earth as the Council survivors limped away. They made no attempt to pursue or capture the retreating ships. They simply returned to their positions and waited. On the Council worlds, the reality finally sank in. They had not been dealing with a primitive species that could be bullied into submission. They had been dealing with the most dangerous military power the galaxy had ever seen. A power that had been content to remain peaceful until pushed too far. The age of Council dominance was over. The age of human protection had begun. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Seoul, and the galaxy was a very different place. Ambassador Sujin Kang walked through the corridors of the Galactic Council station, her footsteps echoing in the nearly empty halls. The same crystal chamber where humans had once been accused and dismissed now served as the meeting place for a new kind of negotiation. The council members who had once sat in judgment of humanity now waited nervously for her arrival. Many seats were empty. Some species had retreated to their home worlds after the devastating defeat at Seoul. Others had sent new representatives, hoping to distance themselves from the failed invasion. Speaker Veltara still held her position, though her authority had been greatly reduced. The pale, silver-haired alien who had once commanded respect across the galaxy now looked tired and uncertain. The war she had pushed for had brought nothing but disaster to the council. Sujin entered the chamber flanked by 2 human marines, but they were not there for protection. They were there to remind everyone of what humanity was capable of. The Das humans no longer came as supplicants begging for acceptance. They came as the galaxy's new dominant power. "Honored council members," Sujin began, her voice carrying easily through the vast space. "I come before you today not as a defendant, but as a representative of humanity's new position in galactic affairs." She activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Human fleets now patrolled the major trade routes that had once been protected by council forces. Human bases had been established in key systems throughout council space. The red markers indicating human presence now outnumbered those of any other species. The Galactic Council demanded that humanity submit to your oversight and abandon our colonies. We refused. You responded with military force, bringing the largest fleet in galactic history to destroy our home world. Sujin paused, letting the memory of that defeat settle over the assembled aliens. The result was the complete destruction of your combined fleets and the demonstration that humanity possesses military capabilities far beyond what you had imagined. Your attempt to conquer us has instead revealed that we are now the strongest force in known space. Council member Zethron of the Dominion, one of the few original members still present, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. What do you want from us, humans? Revenge? Tribute? The submission you once refused to give us? Sujin smiled, and for a moment she looked almost sad. That is exactly what makes us different from you, Counselor Zethron. We do not want your submission. We never did. She manipulated the holographic display, showing detailed charts of trade flows, resource distribution, and economic data from across the galaxy. For the past 6 months, human fleets have been protecting trade routes that Council forces abandoned after the Battle of Sol. Pirate attacks have dropped by 90%. Shipping times have improved by an average of 30%. Economic productivity in formerly troubled regions has increased dramatically. The data was undeniable. In the 6 months since humanity had taken over galactic security, peace and prosperity had spread to regions that had suffered from instability for decades. We have also begun sharing our medical and agricultural technologies with any species, willing to accept them peacefully. Famine on Kepler-7 was ended within weeks of our intervention. The plague that had ravaged the Outer Rim colonies has been completely eliminated. More data appeared, showing dramatic improvements in health, food production, and quality of life across dozens of worlds. The humans had not conquered these places. They had helped them. But why? Speaker Veltara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Why help us, after what we tried to do to you? Sujin turned to face the former speaker directly. Because that is who we are. We tried to tell you this 50 years ago when we first made contact. We tried to show you through decades of peaceful cooperation. You refused to listen. She walked closer to the council seats, looking up at the assembled aliens. You believed that any species capable of military strength must be conquerors seeking to dominate others. You could not imagine a people who had great power but chose to use it for protection rather than oppression. The chamber was silent except for the soft humming of the environmental systems. Every alien present was struggling to understand this concept that went against everything they had believed about power and politics. Humanity offers the galaxy a new compact, Sujin continued. We will guarantee the territorial integrity of every member world. We will protect trade routes and maintain galactic peace. We will share our technologies and help solve problems that threaten all species. She activated another display showing the proposed new structure of galactic government. In return, you will respect human sovereignty and never again attempt to dictate terms to us. You will recognize that we are your protectors, not your rulers. You will understand that our strength serves the common good, not our own ambition. Council. Member Yara of the Synthesis, an energy being whose form flickered with uncertainty, spoke for the first time. How can we trust you? You have power beyond our ability to resist. What prevents you from becoming the very tyrants you claim to oppose? Sujin nodded as if she had expected this question. Because we had that power before you attacked us, and we chose not to use it. We could have conquered the galaxy 50 years ago if domination had been our goal. Instead, we tried to be your friends. The truth of this statement hit the assembled aliens like a physical blow. The humans had possessed overwhelming military superiority for decades, but had hidden it while trying to build peaceful relationships. They had only revealed their strength when forced to defend themselves. Your attack on Sul was not a battle between equals, Sujin said. It was a test of human character. You tested whether we would use our power to destroy our enemies or to protect what we value. The answer should now be clear. The negotiations that followed established a new order in the galaxy. The Galactic Council continued to exist, but its role changed completely. Instead of trying to control member species through force and economic pressure, it became a forum for cooperation and dispute resolution under human protection. Trade flourished, as human fleets eliminated piracy and maintained safe passage through previously dangerous regions. Scientific research accelerated as human technology was shared freely with species willing to contribute their own knowledge. Wars between member species became virtually impossible as human forces intervened quickly to prevent conflicts. Some species initially resented their new position, but the benefits of human protection soon became obvious. Worlds that had lived in fear of stronger neighbors could now develop peacefully. Smaller species that had been ignored by the old council found themselves with access to technologies and opportunities they had never imagined. A year after the failed invasion of Earth, President Ji-hoon Yoon stood in his office looking out at the stars. His aide, Colonel Yoo-jin Song, brought him the daily reports from across human space. "Any problems today?" Yoon asked. "3 minor disputes between colony worlds, all resolved through mediation. A request from the Vegan Republic for assistance with their terraforming project, and formal thanks from the Alpha Centauri Mining Consortium for eliminating the pirate threat in their sector." President Yoon nodded thoughtfully. "And the Council worlds?" "Peaceful, sir. Trade is up 17% from last month. No military incidents. The galaxy is more stable now than it has been in centuries." Yoon smiled as he looked out at the peaceful stars. "Good. Let us keep it that way. And let us hope we never have to walk out of peace talks again." The story of humanity's rise to galactic dominance was not one of conquest or cruelty. It was the story of a species that had been forced to reveal their strength in order to protect their freedom, and then chose to use that strength to create the very peace and prosperity they had always wanted to build together with their galactic neighbors. The galaxy was finally at peace, protected by those who understood that true strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to protect.